Hello, hello, good afternoon. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Saturday 3:30 p.m. demo at the Cottage Weekend Online Crop. I feel like I start every video with basically the same words, just substituting in a few different things. And I'm just gonna see if I can tilt my camera just a smidge. It feels like we're a little bit wonky. Might have made it even more wonky in the process. We shall see. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. If you're watching later on replay, you can say replay or just drop a comment. And we are going to be doing some scrapbooking today. So I've got my camera up high in the sky so we can get the full 12 inches in on the camera. And I'm just slowly shifting till we get to where we're supposed to be, and then hopefully stop before I go too far, because it takes the camera an extra little bit of time before it catches up. And yeah, so we are going to be creating using some of the new online exclusives that just became available on the 4th. So we are going to be doing all the textures, and so there are two new designer series pattern papers that have come out, two sets, and one is called Woven Textures and one is called Botanical Textures, and they look awesome together. And I have a photo that I've been wanting to use since December of my son Justin, and you'll see that in a little while, and you will understand why this is just like the perfect paper for this photo. And it's kind of a funny story behind the photo, but we'll get to that when we get to it. I see that Barb is watching. Hello, Barb. And Mom's here too. And Mary. Hey, Mary. You're home for a little while before heading out of town for an evening hockey game. Yes, you are a busy grandma. That's for sure. Okay, so we're going to be starting with a piece of 12 by 12 basic white. And I'm going to stick it down to my mat today. Just put a little bit of adhesive there in the center. And the reason we're doing that is because we're going to need it to not move around a lot on us while we're working. Okay, and we want to kind of break away from our large expanse of white. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my stamp blocks, and I'm going to grab a bit of some old olive ink. Let me open that up. And we're just going to touch the old olive onto our block like that. Transfer a bit of ink. And we're also going to grab a water brush or a painter. A water painter. Got to find one that's actually got liquid in it. There we go. There's our water painter that's got liquid in it. And we can use this to pick up some of this ink. Let's get a little bit of water going. I should have checked to make sure I had water in some of these. So we're going to get that a little bit juicy, make a nice little puddle, and we're going to get a little bit messy and then a little bit unmessy, all at the same time, I guess. Let's grab something we can tap against, and let's add some splatter on here. And I didn't even put anything down to protect my surrounding areas, so we're going to hope for the best. I can already see some splatter over near my wall. It's all good. My wall has seen worse, right? And we're just kind of going all over. We're not specifically directing in any one place. We're getting it everywhere we think we might want it, which is everywhere. We were talking earlier during Chat and Craft about something about being everywhere. That made me think of the Stampin' Tom song, I've Been Everywhere, Man. So the splatter's going everywhere. All right, let's clean this off. Now, the way you clean out your water painter is you give it a little squeeze, rub it off on a tissue or a stamp chamois of some kind, and just keep going until it comes out clear. And then you know you're good. you can wipe off your stamp block. Stamp blocks are lovely non-porous surfaces, and they're used to getting inky, so it doesn't really matter if you get more ink on there, it'll come right off. All right, moving on. I feel like I have a piece of hair in my mouth. Do you ever get that feeling? Hey, Carol, good afternoon, and Diane's here too. Hey, Diane, and Michelle. Hey, everybody. Okay, so this isn't going to take a long time to dry because we just did a tiny little bit of splatter on there. So we're not going to have to linger too long, but we've got some really fun designer series paper. We have woven textures, and I'll just show you the front and back of this little square here. And there's sort of like basket weave and sisal and all sorts of fun things. And there are, I believe, four different designs, and you get 3 of each in the pack. And then we also have the Botanical Textures, which are black and white, which can be really fun because you can color them up any way you want, and they go with anything you want. And this, I believe you get 6 different double-sided patterns, 2 of each. So for this project, I'm going to use 18 squares that are 2 inch by 2 inch. And what I want to do with my little squares is I want to cut them in half from corner to corner. So hopefully this is dry enough because I'm going to plunk this right down here. And so I'm just going to take my little 2 inch square. I'm going to chop it from corner to corner, if I can line it up so far away from my face, and create 2 little triangles out of it. Okay, 2 nice little right angle triangles. And then we're going to take our little woven textures here. So we need 18 of these squares cut into little triangles. So we're going to end up, who's good with math? 18 and 18, 36 triangles all together. Okay. Now, we're going to be creating a fun design with these triangles. And so we need to, first of all, grab a ruler, because that's going to make our life easy. We're going to start over here by placing our ruler at the 2 inch mark. So line it up top and bottom at 2 inches. And then we're going to start working in this section. Now I have basically every single pattern from the Botanical Textures and every pattern, I'm pretty sure every pattern from the woven textures going on this layout. How cool is that? You can get every single pattern on a layout. And this is the kind of pattern you could mix and match with cardstock too if you wanted. But I really wanted these patterns because they're going to just look so awesome. So I have got them set off to the side here, and I'm not going to bring them in and throw them all over my page because they'll just be a jumble. But we're going to start working down in the bottom left corner because it's the closest to me. And I am going to use liquid glue for this because we're working with triangles, and that just makes life easier. Our very first triangle is going to have each of its points on the 2 inch mark. See that? We're putting our right angle here, and our 2 points are there, and we're going to leave this space blank. And we're basically going to create a zigzag pattern. And we have done these before. I think the last one we did horizontally, and it was a little bit different size of blocks. But a zigzag pattern is kind of a nice pattern to work with because it allows for a lot of variety. Or you can make each zigzag the exact same pattern, or cardstock. But once you have the idea of how to make the pattern, you can really mix and match it any way you want. You can make a border around your page. You can just create to your heart's content. And by using our mat here with our numbers, I know that by the time I get to the third one, that I'm still staying nice and straight if it points right to that 6. So you see how I put those 2 right angles back to back and then I swapped. So we're leaving a nice triangle over on this side, and that's basically how the pattern is going to continue. And we're bringing in all the fun patterns from these two collections. I was super excited. You guys know how much I like wood grain. I like these woven textures pretty much as I like wood grain. So that's saying a lot about these papers. So we've got some large chunky woven ones. That first one we put was a really sort of tight basket weave. Then we've got ones that are like burlap. And, okay, so this next one should point to the 10-inch line, like that. And we've also got different of the botanicals happening here. Now, I didn't really plan for this to be alternating from one to the other. It's just that's how it ended up in this row. I was kind of looking more at the size of the patterns than anything. My one finger is very sticky now, so everything wants to stick to it. It's great for picking up the little pieces of paper, but it was also holding on to that glue bottle. All right, so we've got part of our pattern going. Now, if you look at this, you can think, we could make some really cool patterns with this. We could then go to diamonds. We could do all sorts of things, but we're going to continue with the zigzag, and we're going to expand it. So, because right now it's just kind of like a bunch of little triangles stacked up. But we're going to bring in our next piece. Isn't that a fun pattern? It's like inky wash with splotchy bits. And we're going to put this one, flip the opposite way so that the right angle is at the bottom like that. Okay? And I probably don't need my ruler, but because this is 2-inch and 2-inch, our ruler would be lined up at the 4-inch line. But I think, well, I might keep it there just in case. We'll see how it goes. I think we should be okay. Our next one, look at this. We're bringing in a piece of that dark basket weave. Backside of this one. I love when the patterns are back to back and you can just cut out a couple squares and go to town. All right. And we basically want to flip to create this pattern. So it's like the mirror and then the flipped of the other one, if that makes sense. We're mirroring and flipping. All right, our next one. Some of these botanicals have the dark background, and I love how it looks like there's, you know, a close, a mid, a far away. To these, a lot of depth and texture to them. All sorts of inky goodness, and it's fun to have a black and white pattern set every so often because black and white can mix in with pretty much anything else, right? As long as the style kind of jives, then that's great. Here's one that looks like the bottom of a basket, a nice tight woven. They almost look like wheat, little pieces of grains of wheat, but it's a basket weave. All right. We're just going to keep going. I got to make sure I don't squish those points down too much. I don't want to tuck them in underneath each other. Alrighty. So we're going to actually create 3 rows of zigzag. And it's really important when you're doing a pattern like this to get at least that first row correct. That's why we were using the ruler, because we didn't want to get off kilter right at the beginning. We're doing good so far. We're doing good so far. Now this last one should basically line up with the top of our paper, and the point should end up at the 4, and that looks like it has done that. Now we're going to need our ruler for the next row, because what we're going to do is we're going to jump a 1/2 of an inch. So this one, the point is going to be at 4.5. So I want to line my ruler back up using that 4.5 inch line as my guide to keep everything straight, because now we're kind of floating, if that makes sense. We're kind of floating now. The first row we were working kind of floating. The second row was butted up. Now we're back to floating. So we're going to line that up, tip at the 4 1/4, sorry, and lined up with our ruler. Bringing this in. Hey, Deborah, nice to see you're watching. I don't know if I said hello before. I know I said hello to Michelle. If by chance I don't see your comment, I have noticed that sometimes the comments come through and I don't see them till after. And it's not that I didn't look, it's that they for some reason, they don't show up on my feed. And I don't know what to do about that. It just has always been happening. And so it's nothing really new. Because I know I'll see certain comments as we go along, you know, people saying hi. And then I will go back in later and I'll be like, well, there was like 10 other comments right in the middle of all that. And not a clue. Didn't see it. So I'm not ignoring. Just don't always see it. So the photo that I'm going to be using on this layout is a photo of my eldest. And interesting story. He had to go in and do a medical procedure, or have a medical procedure, just before Christmas. And so after, we were waiting for my husband to pick us up from the hospital. And we're waiting in the cafeteria because, you know, we had a time to wait. He had gone to drop off my other son at school. And so, you know, I got him a drink because he needed to drink something. He was a little bit dehydrated. And so he was sitting there and I took a picture of him and he didn't know at first that I was taking a picture. He had just turned and he kind of smiled at me. And I took the picture and I really like how the picture turned out. Now I did take some other photos of him not too long after that and he had actually kind of fallen asleep. So today's layout is going to be a single photo layout. However, this layout could be used for more than one photo. It could be used for more than one photo, and you could make a companion page quite easily and add lots of photos. I think if I was going to do a companion page to this, which I might because I do have more photos of the day, I would probably do a second page with maybe just one row of the zigzags and maybe have like one big mat and put all the photos on it. And then this page just have the single photo. I think that's what I will do. And then it'll go in his scrapbook album. So anyway, the photo, he's wearing a nice sweater, and the sweater really goes with this collections of paper. It goes with the feel of the design, like it just kind of all came together, and I was super, super happy. So you will see that photo when we get there. I'm like warming you up for it. I know. Don't be underwhelmed when you see it, because, you know, but a mom's got to be excited about stuff, right? I mean, it probably wasn't a great day for him. Yeah, but, you know, these things, you know, sometimes stuff's got to happen. But he took it like a trooper. And, yeah, so we're just going to be documenting the day. And, in fact, that is the title that I'm going to be using for this layout. It took me a while to think of what I wanted to do, and then I thought, you know what? We had that really nice stamp set that was available as a reward during Celebration called Documenting the Day, and it has some nice sized wordage for doing titles on a layout, and I'm not even sure. I think maybe I've used the Documenting the Day one, but I haven't used it in his album. So that's the great thing. Even though, you know, you might use the same stamps over and over, they might be for different purposes. And so it might not be repetitive in your albums because it's not for your album, right? Now this one should end up at the 6.5, which it did. Oh, I'm loving how accurate this is going. Sometimes it doesn't go so well. Carol says she loves it, definitely be doing this, and now she's getting ready to leave. Have fun at the dinner and dance. Enjoy the Irish stew. That's going to be delicious. All right, so our next one, this one is going to get a little tricky. So we're jumping from the 6.5 to the 7. So we're going to also line up, because remember, we're leaving that 1/2 inch gap in between our zigzags. Can you see how this pattern is coming together? And what a great way it is to use lots of pattern and little scrappy bits. Now, I was cutting off of big pieces because this is a new paper pack, but this would be a great pattern to have in mind when you think, oh, I just got a few little bits and pieces left, because it doesn't take much. Michelle is loving it. Yes, the ruler trick really works. And you know what? This this layout was inspired by one I saw online, and I'm trying to remember who it was, and I should have written it down, but I will post it when I post my photos. And that shifted a little bit. There we go. Looks good. And I did my other ruler trick where I create my own ruler to make sure that these were 2-inch squares. And then after going through the whole spiel of making the ruler trick, I realized if they were 2-inch squares and they went from top to bottom, I could just count the squares. So I went 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, they're 2-inch squares. I did not need the ruler for this one. But this ruler is coming in quite handy. Alrighty. Sometimes you just have to play around. And if you're trying out a new pattern like this and you're not sure how to line it up, don't start gluing down. Put all your pieces on the page and see what makes sense. And then you might say, okay, I'm going to need to put my ruler here to make sure everything lines up. Now this is helpful because we have these lovely 90-degree corners on these triangles, and that is super helpful for keeping things straight. And if you're making like odd-shaped ones, then just go wonky. I always say if it's going to go wonky, just go wonky on purpose. Just start out with the plan that it's going to be wonky. Don't even try to make it line up. And same with putting titles on things. If you have cutout letters and you know it's going to be difficult to get it lined up, if it's not possible to use a ruler easily for it, then just make them wonky on purpose, and nobody will be the wiser. All right, I think we can probably dispense with our ruler for now, because our last little row going on here can just butt up against that last one and hopefully stay nice and straight. Oop, good thing it landed glue side up. All right, and this one, the point should go all the way over to the 9. I do also like that this first row started on the edge. You kind of make it harder on yourself if you try to come away from the edge, but if you do and you want it to look like that, then just definitely use the ruler, right? Just start off using the ruler as your new edge. I would just shift it over and have the ruler right there. Don't use it on this side, use it on that side, if that makes sense. Sometimes I wonder if the things I ramble make sense, but okay, so we're getting down to the last bit. Now, I am going to be adding a photo on here, and chances are that some of my paper, and I know it's not even some, a bit of my paper will get covered up. Am I concerned about that? I'm not. If I was concerned about it, I could try to, you know, cut less paper and try to leave a gap where my photos are going to be, but that seems like a lot of work. I think it's just better to keep the pattern going and, you know, kind of like don't mess with a good thing, and then just put your photo on top. Don't worry if it's covered up. It's the same as when you create a mixed media background and you spent time stenciling and stamping and doing all those things. Don't fret if you have to cover it up. It's the background. It's what it's for. You wouldn't worry about covering up this plain white page, so don't worry about the other things. You may, you know, you may want to add a little bit more somewhere else. And, you know, I did that splattering on there, but I have a secondary splattering option that I'm going to use, and I'm going to use it after the fact, so that if there's a spot where I'm like, gee, I wish there was just a little bit more splatter here, I can do that. So it's good to have a sort of a secondary option as well. And that will be sort of our unmessy version of adding the splatter. So there, that's all the triangles on there. Isn't that fun? Right, Diane? It's only us who know. It's true. That's the same with almost every crafting. You're like, oh, I made a mistake. Nobody will know. I mean, unless it's maybe spelling something wrong, but nobody knows what you're going for. It's only in your head. So whatever works, works. Okay, now for my photo. Time to bring out the photo. Bring out the photo. Here's the photo of my eldest, Justin. And without fail, he wears this straw hat. Well, actually, in the winter, he's been wearing a fuzzy, ear flappy kind of cap. But he likes this straw hat, and then he had this nice sweater on, and you can see it's got like the little chevrons on here. It's got this kind of zigzaggy feel, and I just thought it would look fabulous with these patterns. Don't you think it's picking up that woven texture, and it's got knitted texture and all that? Now, the only issue is this is busy, and this is also kind of busy, and I don't want it to disappear in the background, because although the background is lovely, and I love these patterns, and I love the design that we created, the focus is the photo. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of black matting around our photo. And my photo is a wonky size, but you could imagine, say, a 4x6. It's not quite a 4x6. That's okay. So you can imagine a 4x6, and we're going to add some black cardstock around the outside, like that. And that looks great, but I want even a little bit more separation, and I want to bring in a smidgen of color. Currently, the only colors on my page are the black and white and pecan pie is the color that they're kind of listing in here, like beige, basic beige, and pecan pie, so brown. So it's all neutrals. We did add a little bit of the old olive for splatter, so we're going to bring that color in again with a second mat for the photo using old olive, and it's a little bit larger border than the black, and that gives us a nice separation and adds a little bit of zippity-doo-dah to the back of this to make it stand out from all those patterns. You need kind of a blank area in between pattern and photo to get your eye to get drawn towards the photo when the photo's busy and the background is busy. And it's also a large photo, which helps. I wouldn't do maybe like a little 3x3 on this kind of pattern. That would definitely get lost. You would have to do some serious work to make that stand out amongst all of this. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm not putting it on here straight. I'm going to give it a little bit of a jaunty angle to go with the jaunty hat that he's wearing. And yes, look at that. We are covering up some of those triangles. And so I could have skipped putting those triangles on there, but you run the risk of having your pattern get wonky when you leave holes. So sometimes it's better just to have the paper under there, and it also keeps everything level. So there you go. You're leveling it up. Mary says she's loving the woven textures. Michelle says it's perfect. Awesome. All right, now I want to do a little bit more, and I probably should have done it before I put my photo on there. I get ahead of myself. You know this about me, right? I wonder if I can lift without destroying everything. Look at that. I tried to be a little bit stingy with my adhesive. And so that has worked in my favor this time. Okay, so we're going to envision that's where our photo is. I want to bring in one of the stamps from the Textured Notes cling stamp set that is that matches both of these patterns. This is kind of all one suite. So we've got some of the woven textures in here, and we have some of the botanical textures that we have in the patterns in here, and as well as some sentiments for going on cards. So I've got the larger leaf one here, and I'm going to bring in the Old Olive, and I want to add just a little bit of this stamped sort of in the background. And it doesn't even have to be full strength, right? And then I'll even add maybe a little smidgen down here like that, because I think it'll stand out. And I don't worry about the stems, because remember our photo is going there, right? You already saw that. You know where the photo's going. Michelle says she just ordered that set last night. Yay! You're gonna love it. It's going to be fun. And then I've got some pecan pie, because remember that's one of our coordinating colors. And we've got this other little leafy botanical bit that's in here, and we're going to add just a touch of that in there as well. Like so. And hopefully we'll get it in places where it's actually going to show. I'm going to do a little test run. Bring my photo back in to see if we managed. You know what? I'm going to go a little higher with my brown up there, my pecan pie. You know, I could have marked with a pencil where things were going. Coulda, woulda. And let's add another little bit there. And I think I'm even going to come in again. No, I think that's good. Okay, so I think I'm good. We're going to put that back down there, like so. I don't want it quite as crooked as that. There we go. And I've gone ahead of time, and I have actually stamped and fussy cut. This is what I was doing this afternoon, for all you who are wondering what I was stamping and fussy cutting. I've done a couple of the green ones and one of the pecan pie ones. And so I've even got some adhesive on here already. We can add these in for a little extra texture. And I'm even going to bring some over here. But what I'm going to do, remember when I put my photo on there, I just had adhesive top and bottom. That's so I could do one of these or one of these where I tucked it under. So I'm going to go ahead and add that one right there. And then, let me see, do I want the green one down here and the brown one up there? Or brown one? I think I'm going to go that way. Yes. And so I fussy cut around these, and I also did some interior cutting on them because I'm a weirdo. And so they're all cut out. Lovely jubbly. And we can just go ahead and tuck that in there like that. Got all the little backings sticking everywhere. We got this little guy. Because I'm always using this for adhesive, the point is sticky. So everything wants to stick to it. I have to take a little, you know what works really good is a little dab of hand sanitizer can get that stuff off sometimes quite well. And then let's add a little touch of this down here just for a little extra something. And then remember how I said we were going to add a little something more from the beautiful Butterflies stamp set. I'm going to grab this one that's just little dots. And I've got my little dots loaded on my block here. And we're going to grab our Old Olive, which we splattered with in the beginning. but of course our splattering was little. We're going to ink this up, and just anywhere that I think could have a little more texture, we can add a little more texture. Isn't that fun? And we can turn it around, and we can splatter it on down there like that. And another one that's good for this is the Elements of Text. Has some nice little splattery bits. There we go. We can even add some over here. I am trying to avoid putting it on top of the pattern paper. But yeah, I think that's looking lovely. All right, that's enough. We don't need to do too much. Then from that beautiful butterfly, and that's why we have this stamp set out, is I'm also going to use these sort of smaller butterflies, not the great big one, that would be too much on here. We're going to use a couple of these, and I have stamped them up using the Memento Black, and then colored them using some light Night of Navy, because I wanted to pick up on the little bit of blue in Justin's sweater. And so I have done 2 of the larger small butterflies and 1 of the littler one, like that. And fussy cut them out so we can add them on. I knew we were going to take a long time getting that background done, so I didn't think we needed to. Look at all the backings now stuck on there from my pokey tool. There we go. I knew we were going to have lots of stuff on there with that it would take us a while. So I didn't want to have to, stamp and color and fussy cut and all that jazz while we were online. Did it ahead of time, but you guys get the gist. We're going to stamp, we're going to color, and then we're going to embellish. And then for our title, I went ahead and stamped out from Documenting the Day, the actual title, Documenting the Day. I stamped it on basic white, and I used the Pecan Pie to carry those colors through. Remember, I like to keep my colors simple colors. Don't go too crazy. So we've got the word day, and I fussy cut them out. Of course I did. You know I did. So we've got our Documenting the Day, and we're going to just line that right up. Oops, just knocked my computer. Across there like that. So let's go ahead and take the backing off. Now I could try to do this a little bit nicer, because let's see, where are we at here? 8.5. That looks good. 8.5. Because I can't really see. It's so far away from me, I have a hard time seeing. So let's tuck that down there. If I was a little bit more above where I'm working, I would be able to line it up a little easier. But our ruler is so handy. Let's use our handy ruler. So Documenting the Day. Going on. I got a little adhesive on the back. And I'm going to overlap my my little sentiment here onto my D, but I'm not going to go so far to cover that center bit, because I want it to still look like a D. Sometimes I find if you overlap too much, then you lose the look of the actual letter that it is. And I don't want that. All right, so we've got Documenting the Day, and then one more little touch we're going to bring in, and that is some of these neutral matte dots, which are also a part of this All the Textures suite, are these neutral matte dots, and they're in basic white, basic black, basic beige, and pecan pie for a nice little mix there. And there's large and small of each color. And I was trying to decide which color I wanted, and I'm actually thinking that I'm going to go with, I had in my mind what I thought I was going to go with. I don't want to use white because that's going to disappear. I'm going to use those on a project when I'm using something with a darker background. I was going to use the black, but I might do a mix of black and basic beige just for fun, because one of Justin's favorite colors is beige. So this layout is perfect for him, right? And so let's add a nice little dark note up here to grab your eye towards the title. So we'll add a couple little dark dots up there. And then let's add, let's try some basic beige in amongst our leafies here. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? We could find that we don't like it, but we might find that we do like it. It's adding a little bit of texture, a little bit of something else. Because they're matte, they're not shiny, and that's kind of fun, especially on something that's more masculine. You don't always want to have shiny things or glittery things, or, I mean, sometimes you do, but on this one we don't really need to do that. So we're going to add a couple there as well. Maybe mix in one of the beige ones, tucked right in there. And maybe, if I can get it, come on, we'll add a couple over here too, like so. There we go, just tucking them in here and there. And now there's plenty of space to do some journaling. I could even add some journaling in this space. I could do teeny tiny little print along there, but I kind of want to keep those nice sort of bold zigzag lines intact. But I could add a little tag or something, or little journaling strips, anything that I wanted really to add my journaling. So there we go. We started out with our basic white. We did some splattering with a water painter and the old olive, and then we added in all those beautiful triangles from the Botanical Textures and the Woven Textures to create a fun textural pattern all across our page, adding in some stamped images from the textured notes, and then embellishments with the beautiful butterflies, our title from Documenting the Day, a little extra splatter, and then some of those neutral matte dots to finish it off. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that layout come together. I hope you feel inspired to create one for yourself, and if you do, feel free to take a photo. I would love to see it. I'm sure other people would as well. And then we can all see and be inspired by your artwork. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and we will be on at 7 o'clock for Chat and Craft. We'll see you then. Have fun at the cottage. Toodaloo. Bye.